Whoops, I forgot that I had that on loop. I was trying to stop it. It wouldn't stop it. How's everyone? How are y'all doing? Woo-hoo, LM Dragon. Welcome to the memberships. Thank you, honey. Hello, my favorite villain. And Witchy Bitch, how are you, my honey? I know you're having a bad week. Or started off kind of a bad week. So, oh, it was cloudy here, but it's cooler than it was yesterday. It was hot. Hello, Sue. Welcome. I kind of welcomed it. It was a little bit cooler today. It's already getting hot, and it's just April. We're not even into May yet, and Lord knows we're not even to July and August. So tonight I'll be playing a video that's pre-recorded. It was pre-recorded. I did it yesterday with Alex. He wanted me to record it in case there was anything I wanted to edit. And there were a few things I took out because he brings his baby out at one point, and I didn't want to show the baby on screen. I want to protect babies at all costs. And since this subject is becoming pretty heated, I just wasn't okay with that. So it will be edited. I'll play it. And at the end, I mean, if I'm needing to stop halfway through and chat a minute, we can. It's up to y'all. I'm going to I thought I would let it play and end it. And of course, it'll be live on Mosaic. So then at that point, I can end Mosaic stream, and then we can continue our Gabfest if we need to. There are some things in the interview I want to point out. Alex actually has I guess you would call it a physical deformity due to his time there. And you'll see it when we talk about it. So I hope everybody's having a good week. We are getting ready for the baby shower on Saturday. Woohoo! I'm kind of ready for it to be over. Not even gonna lie. Oh, gotta love the kids though. Excited for this new grandbaby. That I am. So, alrighty. Tell you what, guys. We're just gonna... Well, no. I gotta give it what time is it? Give it a few minutes. A couple seconds anyways. They are a lot of work, but worth it. You are not getting... But see, if the grandbabies, you can send them home. Are you talking about the showers? Yeah, since I'm the mother-in-law, I'm just kind of helping. She has me making a cute little hedgehog cheese ball. I will make sure to share that with y'all. I'll take pictures of that because it's really freaking cute. So, all right, what I'm going to do is share this and start the live. So give me 1 second, guys. Let me add this here. I'm going to do that. And so, let's see. You went to the school when? When were you at the school? Let's start there.
I attended there April 15th, 2004 to, I want to say, the end of June 2007.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, almost 4 years.
That's a long time.
Oh, yeah, pretty much my whole high school career.
Yeah. So you went in at what, 14?
Yeah, well, I just turned 15 3 days before.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so I had my 15th birthday party, which was great up until my mom ruined it because I guess they didn't put salad dressing on the side of her salad, so she was pissed.
Oh.
And then 3 days later, I was escorted actually to the school. I didn't go on my own will. I had no idea. As I said, my birthday being 3 days before, I was just still in the afterglow of that, enjoying all my new crap that my parents had bought me.
Right. Did they come get you like in the middle of the night?
Yeah, so it was like probably between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and these two huge, like, Italian-looking guys, like, came in my room, woke me up, and I'm like, what is going on? Who are you? And the one guy pulls out a set of handcuffs. But yeah, so the one guy, like, this is early 2000s, so we still had wallet chains. But I'm putting my clothes on, and the guy's like, nice chain. And he pulls out his cuffs, and he's like, I've got one too. And I'm like, what is going on here? 15 years old, I definitely wasn't expecting people to come in my room.
Where were you? You were at home.
Yeah, I was at home. So
oh wow.
My family was living in Northern Virginia, and so it was, I'm pretty sure, a school day. Yeah, it was gonna be a school day because my brother went to school the next day. Yeah. No, that's correct. But anyway, so I have a twin brother. So he woke up the next day and was like, "Where's my brother at?" And my parents told him, but I didn't find that out for several months. But yeah, so sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah. So escorted. That was interesting because these guys got lost in Washington D.C. of all places, and they're like, "We don't know where we are," and I'm like, "You're in D.C. Like, have you never been here before? Like, do you not know the nation's? I don't know. I'm a smart ass kid, so I was
you're a 15-year-old. You're supposed to be a smart ass at that point.
Yeah, I was like, y'all really know?
Have just kidnapped you, and they don't even know where they're at.
Yeah, I was like, that's the White House. There's a hint. Like, that's the Washington Monument. Like, there's your other hint. And they're like, nope, still don't know where we are. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna go back to sleep because you guys are idiots. But so we ended up. It was a long drive all the way up to New York from Virginia.
Did they? They didn't tell you where you were going. They didn't say anything.
They basically were like, we were told to take you to this school in New York, and that was it. That's all I got.
And so why were they sending you away? What was their excuse?
My mother's reasoning is because I've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I do have quite a temper, and as a kid with zero actual guidance on how to deal with that, I went to a therapist and a psychiatrist, but they just sat there and listened to me and never actually.
Yeah, they still didn't quite understand how to treat people properly back then.
No, and this was very much the give people pills to try to figure it out.
Right.
Guinea pig.
And not all the medicines worked, and not all medicines work for each person. So
yeah, which I mean, I'm not going to say medication doesn't work. It works for some people. It didn't work for me.
Right. It didn't work for me either.
I had a lot of side effects and really didn't like it, and so that was another part of all of that was really. I don't know if I guess bipolar disorder is probably real, but I think more for me, I just didn't have any way of expressing my emotions and anger and feelings and everything that had gone on in my life appropriately. Mm-hmm. So my reaction was to just act out violently. And so I got in a lot of fights at school. Mainly because I was bullied and I got tired of being bullied. So, I was like, okay, I don't want to be bullied anymore. I'm going to handle this on my own because clearly the teachers aren't doing anything for me. And then I think the real big kicker was I stupidly, some kid at school, my first, it would have been, I think, 8th. So Virginia does 8th and 9th grade weird where you transition over between 8th and 9th, but I was would have been a freshman, and so they this kid convinced me to sell my Ritalin to him, and he got caught and then told on me, and so that's a big no in the school system, no matter where
you're. What now? What was it?
Ritalin.
Oh, Your
Yeah.
ADHD medicine.
Yeah, and I mean, I had no idea. I didn't think anything of it. So, like, I was just like, whatever, sure, dude. Like, you can have one of these. Like, like, I have a whole bottle for whatever reason. I don't need them. Like, I don't take them. So I didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden, I was pulled in the principal's office, and they were like, we could slap you with charges, and like, you could become a felon and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm in so much trouble right now. And my parents came in and basically, I don't know what they said or did to bail me out, but I got expelled from Fairfax County Schools for the entire year, and like that's like all the schools in the county, not just the one I was going to. So
Lord, so you couldn't even transfer to another school?
No.
Oh
no.
wow.
Yeah, and so that was a big issue, and then I went to gotten sent to a boarding school in Keswick, Virginia, which was an all-boys school.
Mm-hmm.
And that place wasn't terrible, but like I just hated it because I was a prepubescent teenager being stupid and didn't know anything about anything. It was like, I hate this place because there's no girls. Like,
there's no girls there at 15. That's important.
Yeah, I was like, this is the end of the world. I can't be here. So I did everything I could to get kicked out of there, which I did get kicked out of there. And so my mom was pissed about that. And then after that, I was homeschooled for a brief period of time. And the homeschool teacher was like this like really like creepy guy. I don't know. I got weird vibes from him. I didn't like him. And so I told him not to come back ever again. And he never did. And then like shortly after, had those guys come in my room and take me out of my bedroom at 3:00 in the morning. My mom had mentioned something about going to a school and saying that we were going to go visit it and look at it, but I didn't know that they were going to kidnap me and take me there.
Right, yeah, that's traumatizing. In and of itself, as an adult, that would be traumatizing. So,
yeah,
15, your frontal lobe ain't all there yet. You know what I mean? It's not connected. You're not processing that properly. So, sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that happened to you.
And I mean, also, the fact that like, it's the middle of the night, like, and I'm like, what is going? I don't even know, like, if I'm in reality or a dream or whatever. And I got to the school. Their intake process was pretty intrusive, to say the least. Like, they make you strip down. It's like the same intake process you have in jail. So you strip down to nothing. You hold your genitalia, squat, and cough. You got to turn around and cough so that they get to look up your crack and everything. And once again, a minor. So, like, that's not a cool situation for any minor to be in ever.
No.
And I don't even know if they do that in juvie at all. I don't know. But I'm sure they probably don't. Not that bad. But anyways, so that was weird. And then all the stuff that my parents had just bought me, taken away immediately because they have super strict restrictions on what you can wear, what imagery, what brands. You can't have, like, I was a skateboarder, so I couldn't have any of my like skateboard clothes because all of those brands were considered what they call negative. So anything that like would have any type of negative impact on anyone or influence them negatively from their past to bring up, and that ranges from a huge range of stuff. So music, clothes, anything that could be. So like I love Jimi Hendrix. I wasn't allowed to listen to Jimi Hendrix. They were like, nope, you can't listen to Jimi Hendrix. He died of drugs or used drugs, so he's negative. You can't talk about Jimi Hendrix or anything like that. No
so anything that was your identity was stripped from you.
away immediately.
Wow.
Immediately, yeah, quite literally, because like you're standing there naked, so like that's and then they cover you in. Well, they used to do this like delousing thing where like they hit you with like lice shampoo and stuff. They gave me lice shampoo to use and do myself, but like they also sat there and watched me shower, which was super creepy. And then after that, well, let me back up 2 seconds. So before this creepy intake process, I walked through the doors of the school, and this was right during what they do, like a circle up thing, where like everybody in the school circles up in the main hallway.
Mm-hmm.
They sit prayer and then they sing a song together. I walked in the middle of this song / prayer circle, and I'm like, what the hell did I just get myself into? Like, where am I? Why are there like 100+ people singing a song like in the hallway? Like, what is this place? I immediately was like, okay, there's something wrong with this place. Like, I don't know where I'm at, but like, I'm not super religious. I haven't been super religious. I went to church because my parents wanted me to and asked me to. I was baptized Christian, but like, I'm just here, to say the least. But yeah.
I can understand that.
And so, and there's some, I could get into spirituality, but that's a whole different subject. But yeah.
That's a deep rabbit hole.
yeah. I would consider myself a spiritual person, just not an organized religion type.
I can agree with that. I mean, we spent years going to church. I ran the nursery, ran the kitchen. I had a youth group. I did children's church. I did all of it over 20 years. And at one point, I just was like, I don't agree with this anymore. I don't. Yeah. They're telling me what I can wear, what I can watch, what I can read, what I can do, where I can go, who I can talk to. And I was done, and I walked away. And now I still watch the church because they have a YouTube channel too. And I love the pastor. I love what he preaches, and I love their music. But then I don't want the organized part of it. Just let me be me. Let me
be what I want to be, and be the spiritual being I'm told that I am.
Right.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. Absolutely.
Plus, I mean, another major part of that is because it was forced down my throat for 4 years.
Right.
Every morning at 6 a.m.
So y'all basically had church at 6 a.m. every morning.
Yeah, but not just church every morning at 6 a.m. Like, you have to get up in any weather condition, climb this like epically steep hill that like was never properly like maintained during the winter time. So like you could fall and hit your face on the ice and at any point hurt something. Wow. And they just would be like, keep going to church and you got to go to chapel.
Wow.
So that was fun. I made church really not something I want to do because of that. That was the main thing, was like, you know, I hated I hated getting up in the morning, or used to. And 2, like, I hate having to get up to do something I don't want to do.
Well, and at 15, it's even worse.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I did give it a try. Like, I that was one of the things I tried to use to get, to cope with all the abuse that went on. Because, I mean, there was a lot of, mainly, there was some physical abuse because I didn't abide by the rules. So, like, I got my ass kicked a few times. Mm-hmm. Not, like, too bad, but, I mean, I can tell you my nose wasn't crooked before I went to the school.
Oh, wow.
And I have yearbook pictures that were sent to me recently that confirm that, because I've been trying to figure out for several years, like, how that happened and why it never got fixed. Like, if you break your nose, you can just put it right back.
Was it the other kids they had discipline you, or did the adults?
No, I got kicked in the face by one of the staff members as I was being put in what they call isolation.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I had a big mean streak of just rebelling, and every time you rebelled is bad. And so I was usually restrained physically by like one, if not one full-grown adult, like 6 or 7. And mind you, I was not the 6'2" man I am now. I was 4'10", maybe 120 pounds soaking wet. So, not a huge threat to anybody.
Right.
I just was angry and, didn't know how to express that. And so
sadly, in that time, that was back when we still had a lot of the professionals like Dr. Phil and other people pushing these kinds of schools as a way for kids struggling like you were and making them sound amazing. Now, I don't know if Dr. Phil knew the ins and outs of some of these schools, or if the brochures look all nice and pretty.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet to research things like we do now. We did, but it wasn't
right like that.
And so in that time I can understand, because I have my kids. My oldest was how old she was? She was about 15. She was born in 89. So I guess she was about 15 then, right?
Same age, yeah.
Yeah.
I was born in 89, so she would have been the
And
same.
so I can see at that age being at my wit's end and not knowing what else to do and thinking this was the right thing.
Yeah,
And
no, I mean, I definitely, like, I told my mom recently, because we always butt heads about this. Every time we talk about it, it's a huge fight. But I told her, I was like, you know what, I've understood that, like, your intentions were good. You wanted me to get, like, help however you seemed fit, and, like, you didn't have many options. But, like, she also sent my brother to military school, so, like, I don't know why she couldn't have just sent me to the same place. And
was his treatment better than yours? Have y'all compared?
Yeah, no, I could say definitely. I mean, it was Fort Union Military Academy, so I mean they're a little strict, but like the most physical anything he had to deal with was either doing push-ups or marching,
right.
And then like occasionally
carrying a ruck. They'll put them rucksacks on them and make them march.
Yeah, but occasionally would get into it with like a roommate or something, but no staff members or employees. Or
the military stuff wasn't even as strict as this one.
No, not even close. Like I know. Anytime I tell my brother about the school, he's like, "Dude, like, I thought FUMA was bad," and I was like, "Nah, you had it pretty easy at FUMA. Plus, the food is significantly better there." Like, yeah. Plus, he could leave campus and go on visits and like.
Right, y'all didn't even get to have communication. Your communication was monitored, wasn't it?
Yeah, like I wasn't able to speak to my family for the first 30 days that I was there. And then several months after that, because I didn't know that if you did, well, I did know initially, but they didn't tell me right away that if you didn't do your homework, you were then not allowed to talk to your parents for another whole week. And I'm big on my big thing with I got straight A's all through school, but I never did homework. I don't know how I got straight A's, but I never ever I never did homework ever. Like, but I mean, I don't know. I did well on tests and I do well writing and everything else. So whatever.
You just retained your information. So
yeah, but I just was like, I have no reason to do this at home. Like I learned all of this at school. Like. And then the test proved it. So I'm like, you guys can't really like be like, oh, like homework will benefit you. I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm doing all right without it. But yeah. So the homework thing was a big thing for me, and I was also like at boarding school. I'm like, why do we have homework? We're in a boarding school. This doesn't make any sense. Like, so I have to be in school 24/7. Pretty much, and have no life and no fun, and the fun I do have is like really limited. Okay, this sounds terrible, but I guess whatever. But no, I never did do the whatever. I never gave in from day one. I was like, no, like this is crazy. I don't know why I'm here. I don't need to be here. The school itself was based off of the Synanon cult that recently has surfaced on Netflix, which is interesting, but also like AA and the what is it, Alcoholics Anonymous for everyone. There's like another part of AA where like
the NA, Narcotics Anonymous.
Yeah, but basically it was like the Alcoholics Anonymous for everyone concept, so like everyone can benefit from
the
AA.
Oh crap! I know what it was because I went to it. My mother went to AA. My mom's been sober for 39 years, and so I had to go to all of that. Now I can't.
Well, there's Al-Anon too.
Yeah.
They also incorporated in that and had my mom going to like meetings and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, like mind you, I went there because I had anger issues. That's what my mom will say. Like, that's what you went for. I don't.
And you were on medication when you got there, so they took you off of all of that, didn't they?
yes and no. Like, they kept me on most of what I was already on because it was some of that stuff that you could just take somebody off of, like lithium and stuff like that.
Because I read that they would take the kids off of everything they were on and start over and develop their own medical plan. So they didn't do that with the lithium for you.
No, they took me. Well, they started switching stuff around. So they were weaning me off of what I was on, and then they were like, "Well, maybe this will work, or maybe this will work, or maybe this will work." So then the problem was that I was either falling asleep in class or wired in class.
Right.
And unable to pay attention because, like, ADD meds don't work for me the way they do for most people. Like, ADD meds for me make me feel like I'm tweaking on methamphetamine. So, like, I can't focus at all. I can't sit still. Like, it makes my ADD like 10 times worse. So, like,
oh wow,
yeah. So I don't use them, and like, yeah, it just was crazy. Plus, they had me on Seroquel, Depakote, all sorts of like sedatives, basically. And
Depakote is rough. Depakote is. Whew.
It was crazy because, like, at some points they had me speedballing pretty much on prescribed medication, and I'm like, you guys are gonna kill me with these pills. And then, like, I was like, I'm not gonna take these. So then I had to be like made to, like, you know, they did it like as they do at the psych ward. They like make you stick your tongue out, check your whole mouth and everything, like, you know, and they were like making sure I wasn't cheeking my medication. But like I still did.
You might have been just a little rebellious.
Just a lot of it, yeah. But like, yeah, so day one, you know, they woke me up at like, I think it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had just slept for 2 hours. So I was like, I'm not getting up. Like, I'm going back to sleep. Like, F you guys. Like, and this is just the students at this point. And this is in like a creepy little like trailer, like a single wide trailer with like 20 bunk beds stuffed in it. So I'm on this like rickety metal bunk bed, and I'm like, I'm not getting out of this bunk bed. Like, you're gonna have to rip me out of this thing to get me out of here. Like, I'm not doing it. So then this kid hits this one door on the trailer, and this alarm starts going crazy. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why is this alarm going nuts? Like, what is happening right now? Like, I was like, why? Like, yeah, I don't know. That whole alarm thing was crazy that first day because, you know, I'm still in shock of where I'm in at this strange place. And now there's alarms going off, and people are like kids are yelling at me because I'm not getting up out of bed. I'm like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden a bunch of staff members come in, and this one guy's like, you got 5 seconds to get out of bed, and I'm gonna rip you out of bed. And I was like, dude, do your worst. Like, you ain't gonna rip me out of this bed. There's no way. Like, no one would ever do that to a child. Like, that concept would just blew my mind. I'm like, this is not happening. Well, 5 seconds were counted down, and sure enough, I got ripped. The mattress under me was ripped out off the top bunk with me in it, and I hit the floor like a sack of bricks. Yeah. And then they took that same mattress, wrapped me up in it like a burrito, and then carried me all the way down to the gym and threw me in the isolation room, which was a 6x6 room with a big steel door on it, a tiny plexiglass window that's like probably like, I don't know, maybe 1 foot by not even a foot, probably like 6 inches by like 3 inches of plexiglass and like 3 deadbolts. And they just threw me in there and left me there for a few hours until somebody came to be like, yo, are you done being an idiot? And I'm like, I don't even know what happened. I just didn't want to get out of bed. Like, like, I don't know what's going on here. But
at that point, you don't know even where you're at, really.
No, I still had no idea where I was. Yeah. I'm just in some strange place. I'm still in a dream as far as I know. A nightmare, if you will. But yeah, I mean, all of that first day was nuts. And then, yeah, I mean, like I told you before, I didn't abide by their anything. I from day one was like, nah, you guys are never gonna break me. You're gonna have the worst time of your lives trying to get me to do anything because I'm gonna give you hell. from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, because I don't agree with this, and I don't know. I just knew something was wrong from the moment I got there. That like this place was not what my parents thought they were sending me to, and that like it just wasn't right. And
Yeah, surely they didn't know the extent of how bad that was.
no, because and I did. Here, let me make this. Since there's something nuts. Like because I gave parents tours at one point, and like you basically just like blew smoke up, and just like pretended that this place was awesome and that they should send their kids there, and that like you as a student were helping market this place and convince these parents that this facade that everybody's put on.
It's part of that conditioning, though, that they do from the moment you get there.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they strip you down and take everything from you, because you're now just another student to them. Well, I mean, you're still who you are, but you're now the subject of their, I don't even know what to describe it as, abuse.
Yeah, it's abuse. It's flat out abuse, torture and abuse. Everything that I have heard so far from anybody I've talked to, straight up abuse.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
when prisoners, and I said this when we did Margaret's live, when prisoners have more rights about things being done to them being illegal, but yet they do it to minor children, that's a problem.
Yeah, and my problem looking upon that is that like some of these staff members were ex-prisoners. Why do we have ex-cons supervising children at any point ever? Like that's the big red flag from day one. And then you have child molesters, you have people that are previously convicted of weird sexual act. Like the principal, Mike Ducey, had previous, I don't know if he had previous charges, but he had admitted to doing things in his past sexually that he regretted. And then there was a case that I just read recently that a kid had pressed charges against him that I knew. One of the kids, he passed away. I'm not sure if it's related to the case or anything, but he had charges against that principal for doing stuff to him as a minor. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't what that blows my mind, because I was in situations with that same person where I was one-on-one with him, and that could have happened to me at any point. And that's
it's weird
terrifying.
How they pick their victims. It's weird because they pick and choose. And then it makes them say, well, this kid says I didn't touch them, so if I didn't touch them, I didn't touch that one. And that's not.
And that particular kid was accused of being bisexual, and then was ridiculed for quote being gay. And he was just a kid that was unsure of his sexual identity as a 15-year-old. Like, he didn't know what the hell he was. So, now he's got this man who's preying on him, who made him vulnerable enough to be able to then prey on him and take advantage. And I mean, I myself, I had a situation happen to me when I was 9 where I was taken advantage of, and ever since then I know what to look for. So I avoided all those people and didn't put myself in those situations, which it sucks, but I'm kind of grateful for, because I was able to avoid those staff members that did do stuff with people that we don't want to talk about.
Yeah, because there are sure a lot of names coming out that did horrible things, not just sexually to children, but physically.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they messed with my food for 4 years. There were several months where I was eating what they called mapo, which was cream of wheat, and then soy burgers, which were like the nastiest. Like they had veggie burgers at one point, which those weren't as bad, but they were still pretty bad. Because I'm a meat eater myself, so like the vegetarian option was not ideal. But like the veggie burgers were edible. The soy burgers were absolutely terrible. They tasted like lighter fluid, and they were never cooked properly, because they undercooked them on purpose so that you'd have to like suffer through this awful
stomach
soy burger.
Yeah. Oh.
And and then not only that, but you were only allowed to drink water with that, and so you couldn't even wash it down with something worth it. Like it was just
like
it was
milk or something that would cover it.
yeah, no, it was terrible, and that was also served on an English muffin, which ruined English muffins for me as well. So, well,
It just don't even sound appetizing. Cream of wheat with a burger,
a
fake
soy
burger patty, a fake burger patty on English muffin. Like,
yeah,
what?
yeah, it was terrible, and that was like they made me eat that a lot because every time, I mean, I rebelled all the time. So there were several times where they're like, "Oh, well, you know, you go sit in the corner, and since sitting in the corner isn't going to do it for you, you can now eat this awful soy burger instead of this lovely meal that we're having." I even had to eat a soy burger on Christmas one time. Yeah.
So the way one way they punished you was changing your food compared to what everybody else was eating, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, I was put on what was called work sanctions. So work sanction was the equivalent of like a prison chain gang. Yeah, that'd be the most accurate way to describe it. Pointless physical activity for the sake of just, you know, making you do labor because they feel you need to. But yeah, I mean that was every day for several months, and I set a record at one point, I think, for being the most time spent on work sanction, for sure. Actually, now that I think about that, yeah, because there was like I spent a lot of like almost over a year collectively on work sanction, which means they took me out of class and made me go carry rocks for several hours.
So you just carry rocks for what? Just
yeah. So like there was a big pile of rocks, probably about 5 feet tall, at one point somewhere in the parking lot, and then you had to walk a mile up this hill, all the way up the road to go put them at the top of the hill. And then when all the rocks moved from that one bottom hill to the top of the hill, you had to move them from the top of the hill to another location. No purpose whatsoever.
I was gonna say, so not even a purpose, just to move them. Wow.
Yeah, just because. Yeah. So where was I at? What were we talking about?
The rocks. You're talking about them doing the rocks.
Oh yeah, work sanction. So yeah, it was really just for no purpose whatsoever. At one point, they did have us dig a ditch, on the side of the road, which, I mean, had its purpose, but it was a drainage ditch. But I mean, that in itself, I think breaks one of those child labor laws.
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. So that was fun. And then, I mean, at least with the drainage ditch, it gave us a purpose to doing the stupid labor. It wasn't just monotonous activity.
Right. Yeah.
But and then they did have us do kitchen work where we worked in the kitchen, which I found my love for cooking because of that. So there are occasionally some positives that came from this place, but not a lot. Like,
I'm glad you were able to take some of the crap and turn it to something useful and good for you. I mean,
yeah,
that's good.
I mean, like I didn't like going out in the woods much, but then I did Boy Scouts when I was at the school and dodged a bullet there because I guess one of the scoutmasters was doing stuff with one of the kids there too. So
I'm at this point. I'm like, what teacher was not?
That's where I mean, I could give you names that I know that weren't, but like, I mean, I can think of maybe a handful that were like genuinely nice people that like were like, okay, like this place is a little nutty, but like I don't really like. A lot of them were like the ones that I befriended were the ones that were like, look, Alex, we see that you're just like not feeding into this crap, and you're not going to, and we're like low key rooting for you because like we don't feed into it either, but like we work here, so we have to. You know,
my only question is, why were they not reporting some of the abuse and the inappropriate issues?
If I had to guess, the same reason why you let certain stuff slide in the workplace sometimes, it's just where you're like, look, like it's not worth my paycheck or my employment to like complain, or they didn't know. But like there were definitely instances where like stuff was brought up where it's like, okay, like that's really messed up and like that should be reported, but like it wasn't. I'm sure they also probably had some type of legal disclosures with employment. They probably signed a bunch of NDAs and stuff like that.
I mean, I know it is a small area, so I'm pretty sure jobs were hard to come by, and this was a good paycheck. So
yeah, I mean,
I can understand that. I just struggle with. I've never been one to sit back and watch another kid be hurt in any way. And I was in 4th grade, and we had a really long bus route. We were in a very rural area. It was a 2-hour bus ride. And this high school kid was picking on the other little boy that his grandparents owned the big ranch that we leased our spot from. It was like a big lease section. And so I knew the family, and he had ADHD, and he wasn't, I mean, he was probably autistic. Back then they called him other things, but I would think now probably autistic.
Yeah.
And he was showing me, he was leaning over the seat, showing me something that he had, a toy of some type. And I kept saying, sit down, they're going to fuss at you. And this kid, his name was David Price. I will say his name all day long. He said something to him, and he kind of grabbed his head and shoved him into the floor, and I went off. Here I was, 4th grade, and I went off, and he ended up hitting me in the middle of my back and took my breath away. And it was about another 30 minutes by the time I got home, and I still had his big old handprint in the middle of my back. And I was a little bitty thing. I probably weighed 80 pounds. My mother lost her shit. And his daddy was a pastor at a church out in the area. She called the sheriff, and she said, you better get your ass here, because if you don't come deal with this, I am. And it ain't going to be pretty. And he came out, and I'm about to talk to this sheriff and tell him what happened. And he's a big old dude. He's like, now hit me out like he hit you. And I'm like, I wanted to hit this big old sheriff.
Yeah.
And it got ugly. And that's what the cops took him the long way to jail. This small town. And they were like, I've never stood by and let a bully fuck with another person ever. Yeah. And I taught my kids that. And my son didn't put up with it in school. Kindergarten, I got called in school because he beat up a 3rd grader because he was picking on his little friend. And so I struggle when I hear stories of, especially adults sitting back. It's hard for me, but I'm trying to understand their reasonings. I'm trying.
Yeah. So like, there's this one staff couple where like the husband was super nice, like Joe was super cool, and like his wife was like a hard ass, like a mega hard ass. Like I feared that woman. She was like, like yeah, no, you didn't want to piss off Tina. She was nuts, and so it was hard. Where like looking upon it now, it's like okay, well Tina, drank the Kool-Aid, if you will, and fed into it and assisted in that abuse. But I can see her as not like where it's from an adult, like as an adult, I can process it to where I know like in a situation as like an employee somewhere, you kind of you make room for stuff and give room rule you abide by rules even though you might not agree with them. But like you're also like for me, like I'll do that, but to an extent. But I'm also not gonna like break my moral code for employment. Like if I disagree with something, I'm gonna be like, yo, this is fucked up. Like this is like y'all are.
I mean, I maybe I could understand it more if it was a teacher that wanted to make sure they were there to support y'all and protect you somehow. Because you're in a situation they can't get you out of, and they can't leave their job, and then I could understand.
Yeah, like Joe. So like Joe was her husband. Joe was super cool. He was the earth science teacher, and he would listen to like classic rock with me and like metal and all the music we weren't supposed to listen to because he knew I liked that stuff. But like he also like was like, you know what, like somebody needs to show this kid some compassion because I mean, I was getting my ass handed to me every day. Like every day, all day, every day. Like I got every sanction known to man, everything they could throw at me, they threw at me trying to break me. And I was like, look, y'all can literally like do everything except for like bury me. And I'm still not gonna I'm not gonna do this. Like I tried every once in a while to be like, you know what, maybe if I give it and I pretend, they'll like, you know, let me get out of here. But that was always met like a week later with like, oh nope, you're back to work sanction, you're back in the corner, you're back to square one, because some vindictive asshole kid was like, you know what, Alex pissed me off today, so I'm gonna go for the throat. Like, and then like that was the messed up part, because they encouraged all the students to be snitches. So like there was nothing you could do without like getting in trouble or being told on, or and if somebody didn't tell on you for what was done, then they were in trouble for it. It was such a mind manipulation to where like everybody was brainwashed. I think that's why. I think that's partially why staff members were not realizing what they were doing was wrong, was because they were also brainwashed. Where they, you know, they get taught, you know, this is part of this program and this is helping so many people, and then you know they keep being enforced how much positivity is being done with all these kids, and so in their heads they're like, wait, we're not, you know, abusing these kids, nothing we're doing is wrong, because there's these hundreds of kids that have graduated that supposedly are doing great and everybody's fine and dandy, but like they're not. None of those staff members, I mean, at least not a lot of them, are reaching out to those alumni and being like, how are y'all doing now? Like, I only have a few that I still talk to now that'll be like, hey, like they won't hit me up regularly, but they'll be like Joe and Tina will be like, I hope you're doing well. Glad to see that you're not in prison or any of the fucked up shit they said you were going to be, because, you know, you rebelled. Like, they told me, like, like, there's many things that I was accused of. I was accused from day one of being an alcoholic and an addict. I'd never touched drugs and I'd never drank except for like I think a Budweiser I stole from my dad one time. And I never done anything really other than just kind of angry, and then the one incident with the Ritalin. So like I had no idea why I'm all of a sudden a drug addict and an alcoholic. And the alcoholic, they labeled me because my father is an alcoholic, or was an alcoholic. He passed out in August.
I'm sorry about that. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, and so then they then blamed my parents were separated at the time. They hadn't been divorced yet. But when I think it was like, I want to say either 17 or 18 when they got divorced. But they like straight up blamed my parents' separation and divorce on me somehow, and convinced me that it was my fault that my parents. I have 3 other siblings, by the way, and so it was somehow single-handedly my fault that my parents were getting divorced and separated. Not that they have marital issues and that it was on them completely, but no, my fault.
Which is something kids already struggle with, feeling like
I
they could have done something better to keep dad home, you know, or mom home, or whatever.
I already was struggling with the fact that like my dad wasn't there, and like, you know, when he was intoxicated, but like I didn't give a shit. He was there. He showed up at my game. I didn't think anything of the fact that he had drinks before that, or that he was driving me home under the influence. I didn't even care. I was like, he's here, whatever. Like he showed up at my baseball game, whether it was the last inning or the last, just to pick me up. He was there. I was fine with that. But like, and he even, of both my parents, he was the one that actually apologized to me and had a real conversation, being like, you know what, Alex, like I had no idea that this place was so messed up and that we sent you to like basically hell for 4 years, and you know made a genuine effort to let me know like he felt like he fucked up with that one, and that if he could change it he would, you know. But well,
I'm glad he was able to make that peace with you.
Yeah, and that was awesome.
But your mom has not?
Absolutely not.
Oh man.
It's quite the opposite, actually. She'll still tell you, you know, I deserve to go there because I was violent. I had like a spree when I was a little kid where like I had cowboy boots with a metal toe on them, and I don't know what I saw in what show where that instigated me to kick everything and everyone with said boots. But I went around kicking everybody with those boots. So like
that made her think you were violent.
Yeah, so then that was the violent. She brought that one up recently. You had a violent streak as a kid. You kicked everybody with your boots and weren't allowed to wear boots to school in elementary school because you didn't know better than to kick anyone. I'm like, well, where were you at to tell me not to kick people? Like, why didn't you take the boots away? Like, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really see that as a reason to go to those extremes. I mean, and I can see like if my kids are little shits. I'll keep it real. They got a lot of my genes, and they are hell on wheels because of it. And my little Alex is my son, and he's very much a little me. And I wouldn't send him to the boarding school that I went to. I wouldn't even think about it. I'd spank him first if he didn't listen from that. I mean, I've been part of that generation. A spanking isn't going to kill anyone. And I'm not talking like kick his ass.
Right.
You know,
I mean, proper discipline and.
You get one swift pow on the butt, and that's that. Like I'm not. That's.
I mean, they need to learn boundaries. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah. I mean, that's just. I don't know. I live in the South. That's how we.
Yeah, I'm in Texas, so it's.
Yeah. Yeah, I was born in Texas, actually. So,
really?
Yeah, I was born in Houston.
Okay, I'm right by Houston. I'm about 2 hours. 2 hours east.
Yeah,
I'm right. I'm in between Houston and Louisiana.
Nice. So yeah, okay.
So
closer to Texarkana.
Yeah, well, low down. I'm on the Gulf. I'm
okay.
I'm literally Hurricane Alley. So.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. For roads. So, did you ever have to do any of the round table discussions at lunch that y'all would do?
Topics, yeah. Table topics. Yeah, literally every day, every meal, I was constantly under fire from everyone. I actually was talking about that with someone the other day. I was like, the feeling of being, so I was on what was called Rate a Meal at one point, where that soy burgers and cream of wheat was what so they pulled me up in front of everybody at meal times. So before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner, and whether or not I ate what was being served that day or that meal, or if I ate the alternative meal, was determined by the severely spiteful student body in my family unit. So, like I said, if at any point I pissed off anyone, anywhere, I was screwed. So, and I was really good at pissing people off as a kid. So, I made a lot of enemies. But, and I love pushing buttons still to this day. So, yeah, it was brought upon by myself a little bit, but like, I don't know. There was several like weeks where I genuinely was trying to like behave. Like I was like, on my P's and Q's, and I'd still just. There was always like 2 or 3. All it took was 2 hands to go up, and I was like, well, I'm screwed. Like, and it was a 3-strike rule thing. But like, yeah, pretty much if I if I didn't take a shower fast enough that day, I could eat an alternative meal. If I was late to class too many times, if I was late to class once, I could eat an alternative meal. Like if I don't know, got out of bed too slowly that morning, I could have eaten it. Literally anything. It didn't matter. The kids could make something up and still put it on me, and everyone else would believe it, and that would be their word. And then I'm eating a soy burger again.
You became everybody's scapegoat.
Yeah.
Wow.
100%. And I was an easy target because I was the one kid that was like, I'm not doing what y'all are going to tell me to do, and I'm letting everybody know that too. Like, so I mean, a lot of kids. There was a lot of times that like, I fell into where like I was getting attention from all the kids that were rebelling, and I was like, well, I mean, if I had it my way, we would band together and we'd burn this place to the freaking ground. But we need matches to do that. But yeah, and I mean, I wanted so bad to start a riot in that place, but it just never happened, and everybody was too scared to do anything like much less. I mean, the most that people were doing, you know, where you really thought you were a badass is if you like stole like a Chewy bar from the like snack cabinet during work sanction, because like, you know, we're not getting fed at all, so we're gonna just steal candy,
right,
and
anything
granola
you get your
bars.
hands on, yeah.
Yeah, and that was, you know, that was like a big no-no, and it's just wild to think about it, how like we just thought we were so cool. Like, yeah, man, we're gonna go steal Chewy bars today.
So what was, besides work sanctions, what was some of the worst treatment?
They had this thing called blackout, where they would make it so you weren't able to talk to certain people. And so I was on blackout with girls almost immediately, because I was like, I'm not listening to this no relationship with girls rule. I'm a 15-year-old boy, and like I like girls, so like I'm gonna try to pursue girls in the school. So shortly after that,
had a rebellious streak.
yeah. So very shortly after that, they were like, "Yeah, no, you're not allowed to talk to girls anymore." I'm like, "Okay, well that wouldn't make sense." But then, you know, after the rebellion, I mean, it got to where I was only allowed to talk to two people, which was my junior sponsor and my sponsor. So one staff member and one student, and that was for at least 6 months, if not longer. So for 6 months, I was only allowed to talk to two people at the school.
Wow.
Period. Like,
that's hard on a teenager.
Yeah, and so then at that point, I looked forward to going to table topics, because then I could actually communicate with the rest of the family unit and the other 30 students, whether it was negative or positive. At that point, I was like, well, I'm getting some type of attention, so like that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And yeah. Hey, baby, can you do me a favor and give this to Amanda? She's pulling up right now. I don't know if she needs both or one, but thank you. But yeah, sorry. I think work section was probably the worst. Isolation, definitely. Like that in itself was awful. Exile. I don't know if anybody's told you about that, but they have what was called exile, where you're no longer allowed in the family unit. Like you're past the point of sitting in the corner. I was past the point of standing in the corner, which that entailed standing in the corner with no shoes on for hours, and you could sit once every, I don't remember if it was once, you could get like a 10-minute break or 5-minute break every hour, something like that, but like something crazy. But like you should be able to sit down, but you're not allowed to. You're gonna stand in the corner. And then but exile was exactly that. You were exiled from the family unit. I said stand in the hallway, which the hallways out there were cold as hell in the wintertime. It's upstate New York, so you know we're talking freezing temperatures. Once again, no shoes, because at that point we were runaway risk, and so if you were lucky, you were wearing shower shoes, like this, like little like one strap across the front, like jail style, yeah. And I think exile was probably the worst. That, and I mean, there was definitely I wasn't, that was the worst one for me. There was definitely other worse sanctions that I saw. Like people were on like I got this one. Well, no, that wasn't the worst. I think probably the most, well, I wouldn't say worst, but most like humiliating one for me was where I had to have this like huge piece of cardboard that had like all the sanctions that they gave me, and I had to like, I had what they called was put on trotting, so I had to do high knees, like basically running around the building. Everywhere I went, I had to do high knees, so like trot like a horse, which is ridiculous looking.
And tiring.
With this, yeah, exhausting, mind you. Also, this is all while I'm work sanction, and like, you know, so like I don't think I'll ever be in as good shape as I was in boarding school, but like I shouldn't have been in that good of shape for the reasons I was. I should
Right.
have played
There could have been other things you could have been doing.
Yeah, like, and I also probably would have gone to a really, really good college if I hadn't been ripped out of class every day to go carry freaking rocks. Like, I was a good student until I went there, and that really irritates me to this day because I ended up having to get my GED, which there's nothing wrong
it's
with
not
that.
even actual schooling. I mean, that's what forced me is it's a type of homeschooling where you don't even get a diploma; you have to get a GED.
Yeah,
and it
well,
makes it.
You can get a diploma from there.
Okay.
They did have accredited like you did get credits.
Okay.
But I mean, you had to pass the New York State Regents exam for every class, which I hate tests, and that was really hard for me because I get test anxiety. So like I all of a sudden can know everything that's going to be every answer. I can have it in my brain and know what it is and put it on the paper. But when it goes from brain to paper, I don't know what the hell happens because I don't put that answer.
A lot of people struggle with that. That's the thing with schools and the testing system to graduate and all that. Is it's not really fair because not everybody tests. You know, not everybody can do the test. They may know the work, but they can't. There's an anxiety that happens when it comes to a test.
Yeah, and I never got that before. Like I never had that issue before I went to that school. And
oh wow.
And I don't know what it was. I think it was probably the pressure of the fact that like if I don't pass this giant test, I'm not going to go to the next grade. Where like, you know, there's some of that in high school, but you have teachers who are lenient and like they'll give you a curve or something where they'll be like, do this to do that extra little bit to get
right, because they know that you know the work.
Yeah, or they'll be like, listen, like most of my teachers, where they're like, look, like you're getting straight A's otherwise, so like there's no point in harping you on your homework. Like this is dumb. Like we'll just let you pass because you pass, and like clearly you have the knowledge retained and you know what the heck you're talking about. But there's no point in like making you do math problems at home when you can do it all on the board and full written out, you know, long division and stuff like.
Right.
There's just no point. But like the teachers here, like we're even like in college, like in trade school, I had teachers that were like, Alex, like I don't know what's going on with you during this test, but like write this down. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like and they're like, look, you just passed Engines 101. I'm like, oh yeah, like thank you. Like, yeah, but like none of that ever happened at the family school. A little bit with the earth science teacher Joe, because he was like, look, like you've taken this class 4 times, like you know what is supposed to go in the on these tests. Like all your tests in class are straight, and I did really well. And then that Regents exam just kicked my ass every time. I don't know, I just couldn't do it. It took so long to pass earth science, and earth science was a super easy class. So like, but just that test anxiety got me really bad, and that became hard for me because then I was like, well, there's no fucking point in going to class now because I'm just gonna fail. The moment I go take the Regents exam, boom, failed. And now what? I got to take this class again, like for another X amount of months. Like I'm not doing that. Like. Yeah, and then it just became monotonous. And I'm like, well, you know, fuck it. Throw me in work sanction. I'll just go lift rocks for the rest of the day. I don't care. I would just get so broken down that I'm like, you know what? Like, what's the worst that y'all could really do to me that like is any worse than what you've already done? Like, just throw it all at me because I don't even want to do this anymore. Like, I don't. There's no point. I would just get so defeated, and then I'd become self-destructive. So like I'd be doing well. I still do that to this day. Like I'll quit my job every once in a while because I'm like, man, fuck this. I don't want to. I don't know. A customer will piss me off, or like or not even my boss. Like I wouldn't even have to have a bad day at work. I could just go to work one day and be like, you know what? I don't want to work here. I want to go home. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna go play with my dogs and my kids, and I'll find another job by Monday. But like. I didn't used to be like that. I've been a very driven person my whole life, and I don't know. It's weird reflecting on this stuff that's like been directly impacted by 4 years of mental abuse.
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, and I say this all the time. that old saying when we were little, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, is the biggest lie we tell children.
Oh, yeah. It's
Because
absolute crap.
those breaks and those cuts and bruises heal.
Yeah.
But those words, I mean, I am 51 years old, and I will all of a sudden remember something that was said to me as a child by somebody that was cruel. And it's like, why is that popping in my head right now?
Yeah.
And so words stick, in the way we treat people sticks, you know, and all of that crap that they did has followed you guys, all of y'all.
But yeah, so I mean, they told me after accusing me of being an alcoholic and an addict, said I was going to spend, when I left, if I ever left that place, I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison for assault on probably my wife, and then I was going to be divorced, lonely, unhappy, and childless, and alone for my entire life. And here I am with a house, 3 kids, 7 dogs, and a wife that puts up with my shit, even though I'm incredibly difficult. Like, and I put up with hers just as much. So
I am glad you proved them wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, I was talking to one of the kids I went with yesterday, and I was like, man, it's nice to be able to say that the two of us, like, because we were both equally shitheads when we were there, but the two of us both proved everybody wrong. And I mean, I get compliments a lot from the kids that I went there, the ones that are still alive, that are like, man, like, I'm proud of you. And I mean, I'm proud of me too. Like, I can't believe I've done half the shit I have. And yeah, I don't know. It's been rough. Like, my 20s were not a good time. They were, but they weren't. There was a lot of stupid stuff and making really big mistakes. And yeah.
I think we all make those stupid mistakes in our 20s, though. I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, mine could have been avoided. I had no guidance.
Right.
Well, like, I was spent the past 4 years under incredible strict structure, and then my thing was I went from there to an aftercare program. I have like several programs I went to we could talk about, because all of them were messed up.
Oh wow!
But the one I went to, because I also went to a wilderness program in Utah, which that's another kidnapping story.
We aren't going to be doing anything on the wilderness program.
Okay. Well, I can give you a lot of info on that, because I did go to Second Nature and Entrada in Utah, and I did not listen to them either. Yeah. I did eventually, though. I kind of figured out, well, I'm in the middle of the desert, so I don't have much of a choice as far as, like, you know, going and leaving. They did give me the option to leave at one point, and I tried, and I walked for several days, and then I was like, this is really dumb. I should probably just go back, because I have better chances. But yeah. Yeah, I love learning the hard way. That's my thing.
But you'll be able to turn that around for your children and communicate in a better way, so that they know to make better choices.
Well, I'm trying to. That's hard, because with everything that I've had instilled in my brain, my brain goes back to that attack therapy crap that they did with Synanon, to where instead of being compassionate and empathetic, the person that I am, I immediately go to, I'm gonna just lash out on you and tell you you're an idiot or whatever, and belittle you, instead of being like, hey, what's wrong? What do you need? You know, like all the things I've learned of how to properly deal with stuff doesn't come to mind until after, because the first response is, well, no, I'm just going to break you down and make you feel worthless for not doing what you were supposed to do. And that's really a struggle with having kids, because my kids are 4, 5, and a month and a half. So they're at that age where they're trying to figure out who they are and what rules are and how to abide by them. And my son is very much myself, so he's got oppositional defiance disorder. So, Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It is. Here's some encouraging things. My middle child was just like I was, and we butted heads. Oh my God, did we butt heads when she was little? Now she's my best friend.
Okay, cool. Well, that gives me hope.
Yeah, now, and I can look back and they used to say, she is your mini you. And I'm like, no, she is not. I'm going to kill her. and it would just be every gray hair, I swear she gave me in there years ago. Now it's my oldest one. She gives them all to me, but they all do. But now it's like she is a great mother. Her husband is a youth pastor. She's got a good job with an insurance firm. I mean, she is killing it. But I wouldn't have thought that when she was younger. And so, and I messed up with her. I did. I reacted badly because she was so much like me that we butted heads. But we repaired that. So just my encouragement to you as a mom, because I could be your mother, just don't be too hard on yourself and be quick to step back and go, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Daddy fucked up.
Okay.
Because your kids are going to remember you going back to them and saying, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. With that, I do that when I do realize it. And so, I mean, that's good for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah. We all mess up. We don't get these little books that tell us how to raise our kids.
No, I wish they came with handbooks.
I wish there were some handbooks. I can tell you, I wish there was, but there's not.
Of all the crap they teach you in school, there's certain things that would be really helpful. Like, I don't know how to change a diaper, or how to make a bottle, or how to do your taxes, which I still don't know how to do my damn taxes.
I taught myself how to do them. I do done them every year.
But, yeah, or life skills stuff, like how to use a mop.
They used to teach those things in school, and they quit doing it.
Yeah,
they used to teach you how to balance a checkbook, how to cook, how to sew, how to do all of the things that we need to function in a home, and they don't do it anymore.
I think I heard a statistic the other day, something about like 80 to 90% of millennials don't know how to read a clock.
Yeah, if it's not digital, that's sad.
That's insane. Yeah. Like what?
Or read a tape measure.
Or read a tape measure, exactly. Like what? Like
my daddy was a carpenter, so I knew how to read a tape measure. That was one of the first things I learned.
Yeah, one of the first things I tell anyone, like if they're like, I don't know, is this gonna fit? I don't go grab a tape measure. Like, don't eyeball it and fucking.
The only time I'm not good at it is when it comes to cooking, because none of my recipes have made. I make my own recipes. I look at the recipe.
Oh well, no. If you go by what's on the recipe, it's not gonna taste as good.
It doesn't. And so my kids want me to do a cookbook of all of the things I've made over the years that have become family favorites. And I'm like, I don't know how, because I don't know what measurements to put.
Throw like a little bit of this in there.
Yeah.
And then like put a lot of this in there.
Yeah, and just add this until it's too hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But so anything else would you like to share? Let's see, who was your favorite? Well, I think I know who your favorite teacher was. Joe, right? Is that his name?
Yeah, definitely my favorite teacher, Joe. My favorite staff would have been probably Joe Barbieri in the kitchen. He was this huge Italian guy, and like he just was like he looked like he was like a retired boxer or something. There was always a rumor flying around that he used to be a boxer, and I was like, if he was, like, that man would destroy everybody. He was huge. Like, he's over 6 foot. He's a big dude. So, like, I mean, he reminded me a lot of my dad, and he very much had that, like, fatherly, like, aura about him. And so he didn't agree with the program either. So he'd be like, listen, like, Alex, like, he was one of those people where he's like, look, I know that this is a bunch of bullshit, but, like, you just gotta deal with the bullshit, like, until you get out of here. Because, like, clearly you're not going to listen to anything that they're going to tell you, but, like, you got to listen to some of it. He's like,
trying to get you to fake it so you could get through.
Yeah, but he was more like, he would point out, like, the stuff that wasn't crazy talk. Like, he'd be like, do you see, like, how this could influence this? And, like, this being, like, obviously throwing a chair at the principal is not a good thing to do, Alex. So, like, this is why you're in this situation. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's why I'm up here in the kitchen talking to you, because I'm on work sanction again. Like, so, I mean, that was, I definitely did have a good relationship with him because of that. And I think he knew that I just needed somebody to be like, look, Alex, look, just don't drink the Kool-Aid, but like at least pretend you give a shit about what they're saying. Like, and I did, and it still didn't help, but at least it made it a little bit easier.
They had found you're with our weak link to keep at. It's what they had found.
Yeah. So I mean, my thing was I wanted to get kicked out, and I wanted to be the first one to get kicked out. Like I heard all the stories about everybody that all the crazy shit they did that they couldn't get kicked out, and I'm like, okay, well I can do better than that. And
challenge accepted.
Yeah, but then that turned into I ran away from the school, and then when I ran away from the school, I got brought back, and when I got brought back, they told me, well, write everything down, because the whole thing was, honesty and doing the 12 steps. So part of that's taking an inventory, and so they were like, all right, we'll take your inventory. Anything you write down, we'll just, discuss it later, but like we won't tell the cops, basically. And I fell for that shit, and stupid. And I told them everything that happened. So I'd broken into a few houses, like as I was gone. I'd, stayed the night in people's basements and stole a bunch of crap, like survival stuff. Like I was like full hunting gear. Like I was a Boy Scout, so like I know how to survive. So I was like, okay, well I'm taking all this knowledge and using it. And then they told the cops. So I was facing 7 felonies at 16 years old in the state of New York, which in New York they can charge you as an adult at 16. So, mind you, 4'10", 120 pounds, now 16 years old, got taken to jail from the school, like county jail, like adult county jail as a minor. Went to adult county jail in Sullivan County, and then had like the most terrifying 24 hours of my life. And I got bailed out, thank God. But like, that was scary. And then that was my first jail experience. But then to make matters worse, I didn't get out of the place I was getting kicked out of by going to jail. I got sent back to the school right
after. Which makes no sense. Why would they even tell the law they're going to bring you back?
Yeah. And so then I was
wow.
But now, here's the kicker. Now I'm court mandated to the school until completion of the program, which means they had the power in their hands 100% now, to where they're like, look, you leave when we say you leave. Like,
well, even past 18.
Yeah. And so I was there past my 18th birthday. And they eventually were like, look, dude, we're like, you clearly aren't gonna listen, and you're
well, and here's the thing on that. They weren't only taking your mama's money, they were taking the state's money, because when this court sanctions you to be there, they have to pay the school.
Yep.
So they were getting double dipped, basically.
Yep. As if they weren't already getting enough from my parents anyways.
Wow. Yeah, I heard that the amount people paid was insane.
It's like $75,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I could have a super nice car if I didn't go to this freaking school.
She could have put you in a better school for that kind of money.
A way better school. I could have gone to Fork Union Military Academy and then Harvard after that. Like,
right. And like really done something.
Yeah. I could be a doctor or something crazy. Like,
well, you can still do something amazing with what you're doing. I mean, you're going the right track.
Yeah.
And use it all as a learning tool, And
I mean, that's why I took this opportunity to talk to you about it, because I mean, if anything, I get to discuss it with somebody.
Yeah, we want to get this out there. We want people to hear the stories of the survivors and what it's done, because what is the number? I think it's like 140 children.
It's over 150 now.
Have taken their own lives, either from drugs or self-harm.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the abuse they went through, and a program that's supposed to help fix the problems they were going through. It made them worse.
I mean, I shouldn't be here right now. I died when I was 19 of suicide by drugs. Well, prescription drugs, but I mean, my intention was 100% to die, and I got brought back 2 days later.
Oh,
this
wow.
was after the
After you left the school, right?
Yeah. So the program I went to after the family school, they recommended that I don't go home. I go to an aftercare program. So I went to this program called Intercept Academy in Idaho, in Coeur d'Alene, which is like a really nice resort town. But that's how they got people out there too, because they advertised this like super nice resort town, with this 5-star resort hotel, but like they don't tell you that like it's a house full of crazy people, and like the rules are so outrageous that like nobody wants to abide by them. Like that was the crazy part about that place, was they had staff members come around and checking to make sure you were in your rooms every night at 5:30 in the morning, because it was a runaway risk. I'm like, well, what's so bad about this place that people would want to run away? It can't be that bad. It can't be any worse than the family school that I was just at. And then come to find out, it was pretty crazy. Like, and that place had its own bad shit going on too. There were staff members sleeping with students there as well. I come to find out on several occasions in that place, and I'm like, I don't know. That's wild to me. But what was it? Well, we could talk another time about wilderness for sure.
Yeah, I'll bring you back for wilderness, because Kendall's doing a whole deep dive there. She's got a few other people that she's talked to that want to interview, and so we're definitely going to be going there. We're going to be bringing some light to this. This has become a new mission. I do true crime, and I love to talk about true crime stuff. And to me, this is true crime.
So I think it's interesting you mentioned that, because I was trying to figure out what your podcast was, because I'm like, what am I about to get myself into? And I've actually listened to 1 or 2 episodes of your podcast, like accidentally, while listening to another true crime podcast. Like,
oh, cool.
So like the episode ended, and then it was just like kind of just started playing one of yours. And I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, yeah, but I listened to the stuff they don't want you to know all the time, which is like it's not a true crime. I don't know. They delve into a little bit of everything. They do some true crime and all sorts of stuff. Like news. They cover everything. But it's pretty cool. You should check that out sometimes. But yeah, no, I definitely think I ended up listening to one of your podcasts, at least part of it one time. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, no, we definitely. I think wilderness is very interesting. So I'll have a lot to share with you on that one.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll let Kendall know. She'll be excited we have somebody else.
Yeah, because I mean, I ran away from wilderness. I did everything at wilderness. So
I think we're lucky you even survived this.
I honestly am pretty lucky I survived.
I do think we're. That's why I'm like, everything because you fought the system. You were adamant. You were going to fight and prove that you could get out.
Yeah.
And then you try to take your own life, and then you're here still.
Yeah.
And so you, my friend, have a mission. You have a purpose. Just know that, okay?
Yeah.
Just remember that. Just remember that. And so
still trying to figure out what it is, but
you know what? It could be helping other kids do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it has been for a few years. I mean, I don't know why, but I have a lot of kids from the school that have hit me up being like, hey, like I just need someone to talk to, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I got 10 minutes. Like, what do you need?
And it may be something that you can look at doing locally with, I don't know if they have a boys club there or something, where you could get with some troubled teens and talk to them and share your story and be that ear for them that you needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let them know that,
yeah,
you can fuck up.
You definitely have a bigger purpose in life, my friend. You do.
I appreciate that.
All righty. Well, anything else you want to share before we call it a night?
No.
Oh, wait. Here's a question. Who was the worst one at the school?
Oof, that's a good question. I don't know, because there was a lot of staff that were like evil as shit in their own ways. Mike and Robin Ducey, in my opinion, are the two most evil people on the planet because they just willingly did mess up. Like I caught hell in Family 3. Like, so I was in two different family units. I started out in Family 3 with Mike and Cindy Argyros, who are like the two of the people like currently. Well, Mike Argyros, his father. Tony Argyros is the one that started the school, so he's one of the ones that are like a big shit right now for everything going on. Mm-hmm. But Cindy was particularly ruthless, and that woman, I'll never be able to hear the Yoda quote, "Do or do not, there is no try," without thinking of that evil woman, because like she loved that quote. She used it against me because I was a Star Wars fan, and so. But no, Mike and Robin definitely, I would say that were the worst. But as far as worst for me, Tommy Cummins was this redheaded staff member, and I mean, rightfully so. I gave that man hell, and was particularly awful to him because like I knew I could push his buttons, but like that man beat the crap out of me several times, used excessive force for no reason when like you don't. I mean, I'm not. Now I would not want to try to fight me now as a 6'2" grown man, but like 4'10" at that age, like at no point in the 4 years I was at that school was I a threat to anybody.
Right.
So like like even with a metal crutch in my hand at one point, backed into a corner, I still wasn't much of a threat to a grown man who was actively like that man was jacked as shit. Definitely on steroids, like, and like, just, I mean, yeah, no.
Is he the one that kicked him in the nose?
No, Angela was the one that kicked me in the nose. Angela was cool when he wasn't being an asshole. So, like, I'm not going to give him credit as for being the worst one. But Tommy definitely, like, he was just, like, vindictive. So, like, he would, like, if you pissed him off, he would go out of his way to just make your life absolute hell for the next, like, month. And like in every way possible. So like, and he would try to be buddy, like he would try to be buddy with you. But then if you like, so like, I don't know, he was particularly manipulative with the way he did it. So like he would just mind fuck you into thinking you were like his friend at one point, and then like you'd be like, oh cool, like I'm in the clear, like I'm on Tommy's good side, and then like I'd get brought up at a table topic, and he'd like come in the room from a different family and be like, Dellinger, like, good thing you're up here. I got some shit to say. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And then, like, yeah, no, his whole day ruined, and I would be completely just screwed the moment he showed up in the room. Plus, he was also senior staff, which is like the staff they call whenever you get in trouble. Mm-hmm. So, like, 9 times out of 10, he was coming through the door to tackle me and carry me off to isolation. So, like, I dreaded the moment when Tommy came through that door because he was just going to be aggressive as hell. And definitely would have to say Tommy for sure. Wow. Yeah. But Mike and Robin are definitely close second on that one because as far as like the rest of my stay, like they were the ones that were like responsible for making my life hell for 4 years. Well, 3 years. But yeah, like I said, I didn't dive into that story, but I at one point threw a chair at Robin because we were in the middle of a table topic and she just like set me off. I called her a cunt, and then I picked up a chair and I threw it at her, and then Mike, her husband, was Mike Ducey, the other one in that equation. He almost came across the table and beat the crap out of me as a result of that, and instead Tommy Cummins, the guy I was just telling you about, stopped him and then restrained me and took me to isolation. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Wild scenario. But all of that scenario happened because they had given me a chance to prove myself as like, you know, where I was like trying to feed into the like pretend fake it till you make it, as they say. And I was doing really, really well. And I was on the verge of a home visit, and they ripped it away from me, and told me I wasn't going to go home and that I wasn't going to be able to see my family. So I reacted as anybody would, who was got their hopes and dreams just ripped away.
Right.
And I flipped the frick out. Like, I was like, no, like, you're going to let me go home. Like, what do you mean? Like, and they were like, no, you're not. You're not going home. Like, you're not, like, none of that's happening. F you, basically. And I was like, okay, well, you can play this game. And yeah, but none of that was warranted. It was over something really stupid too. I don't even remember what it was, but it was nothing like worthy of like that vast of a consequence. It was something minuscule. Like,
wow. Did you ever get to do any home visits?
I did not like a handful, but they were few. Like, and I had a lot of home visits that I could have done that got taken away last minute. A lot of Christmas visits I didn't get to do. Most of it was where home visits were taken away, but then they were like my family was able to come up for a day.
Okay.
But like that's not the same.
No,
Like,
no, getting away, decompressing, getting it out of a situation for 24 hours sometimes can just make you feel a lot better.
yeah, it was like heaven on earth.
Yeah.
There was nothing better than being away from that place, even if it was for an hour. Like, even if it was to go to like Binghamton, New York for the day and back, you know, a 2-hour drive and then a 2-hour drive, like be able to go karting in Binghamton and come back. Like that was the best thing ever, to not be in that place for, you know, X amount of hours.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I just can't imagine.
Yeah, the sense of dread driving back was the worst, because it's like, well, I got to go back to, you know, this hellhole where I got to pretend that I, you know, don't want to jump off a bridge or something. Like, I don't know. Did anybody tell you about the kid that killed himself off the second story?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like right before I got there.
Uh-huh.
And they downplayed it so bad. Like, but like now that like I'm like hearing about it years later, I'm like, this was literally like the month before I got there, and like that kid was from Virginia. Like, I'm like, damn, that could have been me. Like,
I read his eulogy that they wrote at the last live that I did with Margaret, and I was floored by the eulogy, so I had to share it because I'm like, who would write all that in a eulogy? That is not a eulogy. Like, what?
Yeah. Like, how do you blame the kid?
Yeah.
At, like what? Like,
yeah,
blows my mind.
I just couldn't. It made no sense. It broke my heart. Reading his story broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart.
Like every day walking past that spot, you could sense it. You could feel something happened here. Like, and it's just, it still creeps me out.
I can imagine the energy there in and of itself.
Yeah.
From years and years of abuse.
That place,
I
plan
stays in a place, you know, and so you can feel it.
Like, I plan on going back there to visit at some point, to like be able to like leave on my own free will and get through that like part of my life, because I still have nightmares that I can't leave there. And that's just like a grown man. So like what you see with like me right now, all my friends and family, like it's as if you took me, my wife, and my 3 kids, plucked us out of my house and threw us at the boarding school in the middle of the night, like it happened 20 years ago. And it happens like it, and I wake up and I'm like, I look around, I'm like, holy shit, I'm still in my house, thank God. Like,
oh, I can't imagine. And I watched the program on Netflix, and it seemed very cathartic to them to go into the school and look at the rooms and finding. I mean, they literally found all of the files with their stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Letters they wrote that never got sent and things like that, and so I just and
that definitely gives you a really good idea of like episode 2 of the program gives you an idea of like the mental aspect of what you go through.
Yeah.
Like the physical part, you know, you can get through that. Like I'm one of those people, I can persevere. I'll mentally like check out and just get through it. But like those table topics were brutal. Like I at one point I think I touched a girl's side accidentally on the bus, and they accused me of they said I was going to be a rapist. Like, and I'm like, what? Like, yeah, like that's that's the kind of shit that you got to deal with there, though. Like I said, they accused me of being the sole reason why my parents were divorced. Like, I still contemplate whether or not that's true. I know it's not true, but I still think about it.
Right.
Like,
That's that little thing in the back of your head that just.
yeah, like, and I mean, I'll admit I've done drugs and alcohol since boarding school, but I'm neither a drug addict or an alcoholic. I can tell you that 100%. Like,
Right.
I just was a stupid 20-year-old. Like, a stupid 20-year-old who spent the past 4 years of his high school career being told by a bunch of ex-drug addicts and alcoholics how awesome drugs and alcohol are. So, like, that was hard too. Where, like, I got thrown, like, left this place where they're like, look, this stuff is so bad, you can't do it, all this stuff. But had all these kids glorifying it for 4 years. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna go find out, you know. But, like, once again, I know to be like, don't do that, dummy. Like, you're gonna get in trouble and you're gonna fuck up all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
I don't know how good this connection will be down here.
Like, oh, this. These stories.
You know, all of their stories are just so similar.
Yeah.
Yet every time I hear another one, no matter how similar it is, it's still just heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah, Ellen Dragon, right? They tell him he's going to end up being a rapist. He is just like, why would you put that on a kid? I just, I don't know. He had my heart, guys. He just had my heart.
He had a whole vibe.
Yes. I mean, he's fun. He's a handful, that's for sure.
I'm excited to hear what he's got to say about the wilderness.
Yeah,
So
me too.
I have a female's version of how that was. So I'm curious of how they treated the males.
Yeah, same. Knitting
I
artisan.
can't say chat, so you'll have to read it.
Knitting artisan says that stuff goes into your mind and it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is horrible. That's right. When they're kids, especially teenagers, everything you speak into them is life force. You know, it either tears them apart or builds them up. And they did everything they could to tear this one down. Like, I just,
Well, that goes back to bullies that, says something to you when you're a kid on the school bus or something. They say it one time and they get their laughs from their friends, yet whatever they said to the kid that's being bullied will go through their heads a million times, even though it was only said once. It's kind of the same principle.
right. Hi, Mariska. Mariska says, hey guys, I seen some of your stuff yesterday, Kendall, and girl, you rock.
Oh, thank you. We tried tonight, but
yeah, we don't know. We suspect her TikTok got reported because she got something flashed up and then it went blank and then she couldn't go back in and then there was no live button. So
my live button just disappeared.
It's just gone. It poofed. So guess what? We'll do it over here tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central, right here. Tomorrow night, y'all are going to hear Kendall's story and what she has to say. And
it'll be easier on YouTube anyway.
Yeah, you won't. Yeah.
They can report all they want to.
Sarah with the blue dress. Notice this posted on at your favorite villain. Sorry, I'm seeing this at the end. No problem. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We had Alex's story. He shared with us his 4 years at the Family Foundation.
4
Very
years.
engaging and just. And I'm going to tell you, I took out the part with his baby, the 1.5-month-old baby, because I just didn't want the baby's face on here, guys. And out of protection. Oh, thank you, Mariska. That's my first super chat. Woohoo! I need a thing for super chats. That's my first one, guys. Oh, that's kind of cool. But thank you so much. I'm all tickled. I want to protect his baby because of the haters and the heat that's going to come on the more we share and put the heat on these people.
Right.
And so I wanted to protect it, but that baby is so precious, and he wanted his daddy. And so he just got a few minutes with his daddy, and he chilled out and was fine and went back to mom.
Protect the kiddos
Yes,
at all
I've only
costs.
been monetized for right at a month. So it's all still new, and I'm growing, and I'm happy with it. You know, we had 20 in the box tonight. So, hey, I'm proud with that. That was good for Alex. We got Alex's story there. More people will watch it on replay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the important part is the victims having a voice.
I'd rather have 20 that's here for the reason that we have that 20 here rather than having 200 that's just here fueling on drama.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
20 real ones over 200 fakes any day.
Sarah says, I'm just learning about the TTI, so have been listening to a lot this past week. Well, we are going to keep deep diving. I have another interview that I need to set up, and we're going to be digging into the history of how these schools even got started. And, but I think this next week, Kendall and I want to kind of break off from this because this gets heavy, and I do have some subscribers that just can't handle it because of their own.
It's very triggering.
And so I want to get, and it's so sad to say, let's take a break and talk about an actual killer. But
let's chill and talk about murder for a while.
We're going to chill out and talk about a murderer. But we're going to talk about Alexei Treviso. I'm saying the last name right, I think.
Treviso. Yeah. Well, now you got me saying it wrong.
Oh God, I say it wrong all the time. Next week.
That Alexei girl. I could say it if you didn't say that.
And so her trial's coming up pretty soon, and we're hoping to have a special guest, or at least recordings of the guest, or maybe just her giving us what to say, where she doesn't want her name out there because of her connection. So we'll have more on that later in the week to be sharing with you guys to be prepared.
Yeah, I texted her this evening, and she said that her and her husband were walking into the movie theater, that it was their anniversary, and could she call me tomorrow? And I said, that's absolutely perfect. So I'll know more whether or not she's going to come in live or if she just wants to share what she knows.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, probably.
So Sarah says, great. I think I have found a worthy cause to start following and supporting on a macro level. Some of my friends from Hell to the No are here, so our support is getting spread out. I appreciate you guys so much. I really do.
It so much.
These victims deserve that, and that's what it's about. And I am,
and for the 150 that's no longer here anymore.
Yeah, the 150 that have lost that fight due to the trauma. And let's hope the number stops. Let's hope that number doesn't grow. Let's hope that those out there see that they're getting support and can hang on just a little bit longer to get some help.
Yeah.
I got off with that interview yesterday and just had tears because he reminds me of my oldest daughter and all of the hell I'm still going through with her, and thinking back to when she was a teenager and thinking maybe I need one of these programs for her. Thank God I never sought one of those programs out.
Right.
I couldn't imagine.
I mean, to me, it's just like, in some sense, I think some parents were at their wits' end and they they just would do anything to save their kids. And then
Right.
other times I think that they just gave up and gave them away.
Right.
Different
Well, like Alex
situations,
shares,
different,
his
but
his parents were alcoholics, or his dad was an alcoholic, and I'm assuming from what he was speaking on, there was a lot of problems going on at home, and then they were a divorced family, and so I think Mama was at her wits' end, and I think that the way I kind of feel with it is that she butted heads with Alex and
right.
just didn't know how, did not know how to handle a child with that anger issue. And those anger issue could have been about with the alcoholic dad that was no longer there. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And, or just the alcoholism in itself. I grew up with alcoholic parents, so I remember those times. You know, I remember at 12 when Daddy sat me down and said him and Mom were getting a divorce. I'm like, what took you so long? You know, and he was taken back by that. And he said, well, we stayed together for you. And I said, y'all could have saved me a whole lot. I wish I wouldn't have.
I'm telling you, no one ever needs to tell their children. Like my parents said, as soon as you graduate, we're done. And like my ninth and 10th grade year, they fought like cats and dogs. My 11th and 12th grade year was silence. And that was worse. And they would tell me, until we can get you through high school and get you off to college, just get you through high school, get you off to college. And then we're done. Like, I don't need this. I don't want this pin drop and everyone walking on eggshells.
Right, because that's worse
Yeah.
than the fighting, really.
The silence was a lot worse than the fighting.
Yeah, yeah,
Sitting at the dinner table and all you hear is forks clinging on the plates. It's just, and knowing that you're sitting there and that they literally, excuse me, hate each other, and they blaming you for the reason they're sitting there with each other.
right. I just remember that as at 12, when them telling me, well, we stayed together for you.
No,
Really?
you didn't.
It would have been a hell of a lot better if you, because when they were separated at one time, it was so peaceful.
Hmm.
Dad would come get me. We would go to Waco and see my sisters, and we would go do things, and there was just peace. And oh, it was just awful with them together. Oh, we lost her. My soul is thankful we can spread our support to tell those precious humans we believe them, we hear them. I agree, Sarah. That is actually really perfectly said. Perfectly said. I fell in love with Alex. I was so drawn to him. He reminded me of my oldest so much, and my youngest, because my youngest has got that attitude. My youngest has that attitude. He is his mama's kid, mixed with his daddy. So he's got my husband's quietness and my smartassery. And that's not even a word, but it works. And so I don't know. I just resonated with Alex so much. And I mean, I hope he listened to what I was trying to encourage him with to do, because I do think that he can be a powerhouse with other boys like him. Here she's back. Here she is. She just poofed.
Sorry. I moved and the connection lost.
Yeah, she's in her tiny house, so the her internet's not near as good as up in the bigger house.
Yeah, when I stay in the big house, that's where the modem and everything is. But I love the tiny house. That's my safe place. That's my quiet thinking place. And I stay down here a lot, but it's the house is up on a hill, and the tiny house is kind of in the dip. So we live in the mountains, but there's in the mountains with a tiny dip, and the dip is where the tiny house is, and it just doesn't get a good connection.
That sucks.
That's why I'm always up at the big house when I'm on the phone or recording or something.
Well, we went. I'm in the rural area, so internet is very hard to get, and the internet I had was down for over a month. And I'm like, I can't do this. We were uploading
Mhm.
content to the network and all of that. And so then I found another one that was fairly new and it worked great. It's so expensive. Jesus Christ. It was like $120 a month. It was insane. And then big, Spectrum, the big internet thing, finally got here. The little dude showed up at my door one day and says, "We're here." And I'm like, finally. And so we signed up for Spectrum, but it my speeds are not the greatest. And so they, when I go to upload anything, whether it be to YouTube or whatever I'm doing, my everything, my uploads and download speeds just go down to like 12. And they didn't believe me. And so they came out here the other day because we're switching our cell phones over. And he's like, I said, look, let me show you. And so he does a speed test, like, okay, it's like 538. You've got great speeds. And then I said, okay, watch. I hit upload. I said, now check it. And it went to 12. And he went, oh, that don't work. That's not even the right one that should be going down. That's not even your uploads. That I said, it's what I keep telling y'all. It's not working. So they're supposed to become trying to figure. They're sending the big people out to work at the lines and figure that out.
Well, I live a mile from Dollywood, and Dollywood and Pigeon Forge is switching over to fiber optics, but I'm right off the city limits because I'm right behind Dollywood, and the city limits is not far past Dollywood, and it turns into Sevierville County, and fiber optics stops at that line, which is
Oh no.
500 yards from me.
Maybe they'll keep working to get it to you because they've worked really hard to get it towards us.
Eventually, probably, but I want it now.
That's how I was. Because at the time when that one went out, and they weren't. What pissed me off is they weren't getting back to me. They weren't answering my phone calls. They weren't answering my emails. And I'm like, look, you want me to pay my freaking bill every month? You need to answer my freaking calls. At least, even if it was overwhelmed with calls, at least send an email out every day. This is where we're at, guys. This is what's going on. And they weren't doing that. And I kept telling them I can't go without my internet. That's what I used for TV. I used it for my TV, for the network, for this, everything. And so yeah, I moved on to the other one. It was just expensive.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to run a business too. I mean, that's what I was telling them the other day when I thought about getting a modem for the tiny house. And then I talked to them, and it was like it doesn't have a different address. It has the same address. And they were
Mm-hmm.
giving me a hard time about it. And I guess what I got to do is call 911 and set up like my address with big house and tiny house, like A and B,
Yeah,
to
that's
give
what
it
we're
a
gonna do when we get my
separate
mom.
911 address for me to
Yeah,
get
that's what
another modem.
I have to do that with my mom when she gets in because she's gonna have her own internet. That way she can, do her little stuff and have her little space so that we don't kill each other because I love my mother. She is 82 years old, but we cannot live in the same house for very long. As a
Me and
matter of
Amber
fact,
wouldn't be able to either.
we can't be in the same room for more than a day. We get on each other's nerves. We just do. And so I have to learn some patience, guys, because it's something you got to do with your parents when they get elderly and she get where she can't see. And she informed me
Yeah.
yesterday. Now she needs me so I can, because my oldest is in her needs mom mode over everybody else because she's just her. Mom's like, no, I need you now. You got to take me to Wally World and HEB and we gotta go have lunch and we gotta go do flea markets and I need chickens. And I'm like, Mama, y'all know I got chickens. I got plenty of chickens.
It sounds like she's still active though.
She is. She's not supposed to be driving though. And
Hmm.
because of her eyesight, and she's still driving because she's in South Dakota, so there's nobody there. And so
Yeah, you got to get her home for something
yeah,
happens.
yeah, and she's ready to get home. She's still got snow
Oh, I
where she's
know. I
at.
used to be a truck driver. I've been all
And I'm
over
like,
Dakotas.
no, and we compare weather all the time. I'm like, you can have it. I don't want it. I like snow for like 2 days and then I'm done. I, I don't do cold. Then again, I don't do the heat either. I can't be pleased much. And
No, I was just down there where you're at. Remember?
it
I
wasn't
don't
that
like
hot
y'all's
yet.
weather.
It wasn't even that hot yet.
No, when I was down there with you guys, it wasn't even that bad. I mean, it wasn't at all. But it was coming, and I know it's coming. That's why I come when I did.
Ivy says she needs a chauffeur like driving Miss Daisy. She's gonna be calling me driving Miss Daisy. Watch her. Well, knitting, I used to kind of think that, except that when I had my thyroid removed, I can no longer regulate body temperature like normal people do. So when I get cold, I get overly cold. I go into shock. If I get hot, I overheat and have heat stroke. So I am I am on this crazy train of struggling to, we keep a blanket around all the time just in case. And then, in the summer, like last year at Ren Fair, which I've got that coming up, it's where my storefront is. It, we start getting in the hundreds here because, Texas has got stupid weather and we think we got to like burn and have hell on earth. And I lived on snow cones at that. I started getting hot and it was like, I need a snow cone. And I just kept getting snow cones trying to cool down. And I told him, I was like, because we're supposed to stay in our costumes. And I'm like, yeah, it gets too fucking hot, guys. Good luck. I will try to wear costumes of some type, but it ain't going to be permanent because I can't do it. I get too hot. Until we
I
get,
just don't like the heat. I just
if I
don't
can get
like
my
hot
electric
weather.
or get an inverter where I can have my little outside AC unit to keep me cool, I think I'll be all right. But I'm just excited because we've been having so much fun. The last 2 seasons have been amazing, and now that this is our grand opening on the permanent property, so we're getting excited.
No, baby, go lay down.
Yeah, Florida. I love the sun, except that I'm overly cautious. I ended up having skin cancer this last year, and it scared the hell out of me. So now I like got me the big floppy hat, and I wear it outside, and I've got lotion, sunblock everywhere, so that I can remember to put it on. And I'm terrified, and I'm one of those. I love to get sunburned and then peel. I love all of that, and now I don't want to do that because I'm terrified. But the
I hate
humidity,
Florida. I'm just weird, I guess.
the humidity here is crazy. Like we stay at 100% humidity in the summer. This last summer was really bad. It was a miserable summer.
I
Yes,
can't
Ivy,
wait for Chase to get a dose of Texas.
we dress up in a Renaissance garb, whether it be pirate and Viking, fairies, anything you really want to do at Ren Fair, any kind of costume. Um, I kind of alternate back and forth between Viking, pirate, and dragon queen. I kind of do a lot of different things. I kind of make my own little thing up. Uh, I think I did a
I'll
fairy.
have to make you some jewelry to go with it.
Oh, that would be great. Because that's one of the things I did last year. I would do like a top that would look the part, and then just
Hmm.
headgear to where I kind of fit in the part. Um,
I
and
could do
so that
some
I could.
amazing pirate jewelry.
Oh, that would be awesome. That
That
would
would
be
be
awesome.
fun to
Do you
make.
have Raynaud's syndrome? You know what, Ellen Dragon? I don't know. I haven't been diagnosed with it. They did. I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, which is it's an autoimmune disease. That's inflammation, like in the SI joints, the knees, the ankles, wrist, elbows, shoulders, that kind of thing. That's been miserable to treat, but I don't know about Raynaud's syndrome, so I'm going to have to ask my doctor. Ivy says, "Oh, I worked at a Renaissance fair in college, but it was deep in the woods and near the water. We are deep, deep, deep in the woods. The creek is dry, but we're hoping to fill it. And it's enough property. We're going to be looking at opening like an amusement park. It's going to be a year round thing. We have 2 fairs. We do spring and fall. We would be so hungover. This was during college. Yeah, we've had a few of those. We have an amazing mead guy that makes amazing mead out there, and it's a little too good because you forget what you're drinking quickly.
When is
And
that?
it's mead. It's wine made out of honey.
No, when is this?
Oh, ours is in spring is May to June. We have 5 weeks, and then in fall it is October into November.
I might come back down sometime in June.
Okay. Yeah, it's May 17th to June that weekend, the Father's Day weekend, 16th, whatever that is.
That'll give me a good excuse to road trip.
Oh yes, yes, and it is so much fun. We have a blast, and I will get you in free. And we're small. Like this year, we didn't have as many shows as we had last spring because we didn't really have the complete setup yet. We didn't even have bathrooms the first 2 weekends. We had porta potties. and I have a fear of a porta potty, and so I would literally use it all day long and then run home. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And then we got the bathrooms fixed, and that was like, oh, thank God. Florida says
Yeah, I
the
might
sun
come back down sometime in June.
better. The sun helps with my energy and with when I'm when my emotions get the best of me or I'm feeling myself down. I am very much about energy work. So I will go sit in the sun with my feet on the ground, or I will go sit under the moon and do the same thing. But the sun does feel amazing. Yes, a lot of the workers, Ivy, go fair to fair. Some of them do this year round, and it's their career. And we call them rennies. And you can tell the real rennies from the ones of us that just do it season to season. Well, alrighty, guys. Thank you all. I'm going to call it a night. Tomorrow night, Kendall is going to be sharing her story.
Yes. We'll try this again.
And we're debunking a few things.
I got some amazing DMs too that I want to read because I really appreciate the support.
Yes. I'm glad people. I'm glad people went, oh, you know what? She has a point, and I was wrong. I'm glad. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And so, but thank you everybody for coming, and thank you LM for joining memberships and for my super chat. Marissa,
thanks,
that was my
everyone.
first. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. And trying to think. Next Thursday, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow night, and then next Thursday.
That's all we have scheduled right now, right?
Yes.
That's for sure scheduled.
Yes.
Okay. I'll talk to you in the morning.
Thank you. Alrighty, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, everyone.